Hey everybody, Coach Toolshed here, and today I'm going to be bringing you some information that I wanted to bring you earlier in the week, but with the news of the beta for Fallout 76 coming out, and then after that, the news where Pete Hines was just contradicting the statement on Twitter. I wanted to go over that information with you guys first. I thought that was more pertinent to the conversation at this time, but there's some stuff that I didn't want to get washed away in the conversation, some information that came out last week in some articles, both from The Guardian and some stuff from GamesIndustry.biz, some more interviews with Pete Hines and Todd Howard, and some quotes about the future of the company that I want to talk about, and also maybe a few things about Fallout 76. And then after that, like I said, so since I'm redoing this video now, there's actually something else that happened this week that I also want to discuss that is pertinent to the conversation, and I wanted to bring it up with you guys. And at the end of the video, I actually want to ask you a couple questions. I want some feedback from you to kind of let me know what it is you guys want here. So what I'm going to do is, first I want to talk about some quotes that Pete Hines had, and I'm going to be pulling from both the Guardian interviews that came out last week and the GamesIndustry.biz articles that came out last week as well. And what I want to talk about is the future of the company. So I've been talking about this in a few of my videos about where they're going, where they're headed, what they've said about their future plans, about how Todd has assured us that everything's going to be single player. But if you recall, a few weeks ago, I mentioned in a video about an interview that Todd had done over in Europe, and I had read the full transcription, and in that transcription I had found that he was asked if Fallout 76 represents the future of the company, and he denied it, but he did throw in a caveat that future games, including Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6, could possibly, maybe, have social elements to it. The word he used was social aspects. He said they hadn't designed them yet, but in follow-up interviews, he has said that the reason they haven't designed some of the stuff is potentially because the technology is not there yet, and the stuff that they may want to incorporate, say, into Elder Scrolls 6, maybe they can't do yet from maybe a cloud-based perspective or something like that. But he definitely did not slam the door shut about having some multiplayer or social aspects in future quote-unquote single-player games. So I found that was interesting this week when I was reading back on last week's articles, and I found some stuff that Pete Hines had said that echoed what Todd was saying in this other interview. So let's get into that right now. So the first thing I want to talk about is where Pete was asked whether or not the industry shift that we've been seeing towards more and more multiplayer focused games and away from traditional single player games was something that we were going to be continuing to see, and specifically whether or not Bethesda was going to be continuing that trend as well, and whether or not the move from single player RPG into the games as a service realm was something that we were just going to have to be living with, I guess, whether or not they asked if it's inevitable. And what Pete had to say was, industry-wide, I have no idea. For us, it will continue to be a mix. You heard Todd say the next adventure after 76 is Starfield, an epic single-player only game. And then he says here, for Fallout, this was an idea, talking about 76, that we had 4 years ago, so we're going to do it, but the next thing we're going to do is going to be single player. Sure, it might have some social features. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is going to be single player. Sure, it might have some social features. And then he says, but it's not going to be a co-op multiplayer game. It's up to the devs to decide what they want to do and what's a good fit. Okay, so he says it's not going to be co-op multiplayer, but sure, it might have some social features in the single-player game. So what does that mean? So now that's the second time, both from Todd and Pete, that we have interviews where they both mention social aspects or social features being in these future games. So when they talk about preserving the traditional Bethesda game that they keep talking about with Elder Scrolls and Fallout that we've seen in the past, and they've talked multiple times about how they want to keep that traditional single-player spirit alive and keep making those games in the future, well, it seems like they're at least going to be tweaking the formula here. And we don't know how extensive these social aspects will be, and maybe they'll be totally fine. We don't know. But the point is that this is another example of where they like to add these caveats into the backside of their statements as sort of escape hatches, so that down the line later when people are like, I thought this was going to be a single player only game, and they say, well, if you guys go back to 2018, we mentioned social features could be in the game. They like to do this a lot. And the problem is that if you don't actually go into some of these full articles, or the interviews themselves, and read everything that's in there, if you're just going to, say, a website that's only going to have 4 or 5, highlight quotes from the article, or if you're just going to go to a YouTube video that's only going to give you 3 minutes worth of breakdown on an article that, could take you 10, 15 minutes to read all the way through. If you actually read the entire interview, there's a lot of caveats that get left out of these quotes. So that's both times both Todd and Pete have mentioned social aspects being in these future games, but what a lot of the fans have heard and what they keep repeating is, no, they said it's going to be single player only in the future. They keep saying single player only. But if you keep reading these quotes, they like to throw these caveats in, and I just wanted to bring that to you guys' attention, just as something, like I said, these social aspects, maybe there's something that won't be, a big problem. Maybe there won't be a barrier. Maybe they won't really affect too much about the games themselves. Maybe there's something we can opt in and out of, turn on and off. Who knows? I'm sure Bethesda themselves don't really know at this point, because Todd has said that the technology isn't there yet for them to do what they want to do. So I'm sure that, this could be pretty benign stuff and nothing that we really need to get worked up about. But the thing is I'm trying to not show that so much. I'm trying to show you how they like to manipulate the wording and throw stuff in after the fact so that stuff can get brushed under the carpet. And so the next quote I want to talk about is Pete talking once again about single player games and the future of Bethesda and what they're going to be having coming down the pike to us. And he likes to bring up other franchises that they publish, but in another part of the article he acknowledges that Fallout and Elder Scrolls are clearly sell more than these other games. So, he can use Rage 2 and Prey and Doom as sort of a shield if he wants, but I think if we're all being intellectually honest here, we know that when we're talking about Bethesda single-player RPG games, we're not talking about the other stuff that they publish. We're talking about Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And like I said, Pete does acknowledge that those other games don't necessarily sell nearly to the degree as Fallout and Elder Scrolls. But he talks about how they're going to continue to do single player, and he brings up Prey and Rage 2 and Doom Eternal and Wolfenstein, which, as far as I know, is Doom Eternal not going to have a multiplayer mode like the last game? I don't know. I haven't really actually looked at that. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Wolfenstein Youngblood, isn't that going to have a co-op mode? That's also something I've heard. So, okay. So this is what he's saying. He says, quote, single player is still a thing. It might continue to grow or evolve. Oh, okay. But it's part of who we are, and we still think there's room to be successful. That doesn't mean we should keep doing things the way we did 5 or 10 years ago. Well, so, what does that mean, guys? Is that, how big of a departure is he talking about? Because he doesn't really expound on that. He just says that they've got to continue to change how they approach things. And you may say, well, that's a necessary part of business. And I can agree with that point to an extent. But this is another quote where they're clearly trying to establish that they're not going to move away from a single player, but it's going to continue or to grow or evolve. So, what does all this mean? The Save Player 1 stuff that we saw from them last year, where they were trying to rub it into every other publisher's face and really stick it to them like, we're the single player guys. But as I've shown in multiple videos, that's not necessarily true. And with their two biggest IPs, that's certainly not true. And as we move down the line, we see Starfield and Elder Scrolls, and what direction are they going in when Todd and Pete have thrown in caveats that there could be social elements. Pete said, sure, it could have social elements. So there's definitely some stuff being batted around. And Todd has said they don't have the technology yet, which kind of leads me to believe that it would probably be cloud-based technology that they would want to be implementing. So, what do you guys make of all that? Because based on those quotes, to me, it sounds like we're not going to be getting those type of quote-unquote traditional Bethesda games that they keep trying to tell us they're going to be making in the future. I think for sure there's going to be some sort of changes based on the fact that Todd and Pete have both mentioned social aspects now in multiple interviews. I think that certainly signals that we're going to see some sort of change in these titles. So everyone who only has read these quotes saying, no, they already said it's going to be single player. Well, here's some more quotes that kind of points in another direction. Another example of them kind of, showing two different stories here, because that's what they do. So the other news that I wanted to bring up was something different to this, but still connected to Bethesda. And this is something that came out on Wednesday, where they hired a semi-prominent YouTuber to be one of their community managers. And I found this to be just, I don't even know the word to use when I saw this, because it was like, this is what some of these guys are shooting for. This is a guy who has put up over 30 videos or so since the E3 announcement, hyping up Fallout 76, pumping up Fallout 76, and wouldn't you know it, they go and hire the guy. So just take this as sort of a cautionary tale. If you're someone who watches a channel where it's, I'm pumped for this, I'm pumped for that, all the time, everything, they're pumped for everything, hype, just maybe take a look at what their end game is. I'm not saying that this guy is some evil person, but at the same time, when you're making a video every day hyping up a game, and then it turns out that you've clearly been in negotiations with the makers of that game to try to get a job with them, I'm sorry, I don't care who he's friends with, that is shady as hell. And anyone, it's a shame, really, that, and I'm not saying, screw him for getting the job. I mean, hey, that's what he was angling for, he got it, good on him, I guess. But that just goes to show, when it comes to who you're going to listen to, think about what the motivations are sometimes. And once again, I'm not saying this guy is some dastardly bastard who is just, the most evil person on the planet. That is not what I'm saying. But this is certainly a shady thing when a channel who's been hyping this game every single day with new videos, and then he turns out, oh, by the way, I've been in negotiations to go work for him. And everyone's cheering him on. And like I said, I'm not begrudging the guy getting a job. That's what he wanted. So, hey, kudos to you. You did it. Success for you. You did it. At the same time, how do you have any integrity at that point? How? You've been hyping the game for weeks and weeks and weeks. And then it's, oh, I'm a community manager now. And I'm not going to give you the guy's name, because I don't want to drive people to that channel to go and give him crap. If you know who I'm talking about, okay, fine. I'm certainly not encouraging anyone to go and start harassing the guy, okay? That's not what this is for. This is information to you guys that you can't always trust everyone you're listening to on YouTube. Even me, for that matter. Piece apart what I'm saying. Even if you believe me generally, listen to everything I say. Don't just accept it at face value. Interrogate everything that I'm saying to you too. That's what you should do with everything that you're getting. You can't. There's no one on YouTube that is infallible that you can just sit there and say, okay, everything this guy says, it's got to be fact. Because it's not always going to be fact. People are going to screw up. So question what you're hearing, even if it's someone that you do trust, and just kind of always question, what is the motivation behind what this person's doing? And again, I'm not trying to project any evil intentions onto this guy. But, like I said, just as a cautionary word of advice, take everything with a grain of salt. Alright? That's all I want to say about that. So, moving on, I want to start asking some questions from you, the listeners, the viewers, the people who've been watching my content. So, as a lot of you may know, I have not been doing voiced videos for too long. It's really been less than 2 months since I've been doing voiced videos here. I've done a couple reviews before that. I don't recommend you go back and watch because some of the microphone audio on them is horrendous. So I'm not recommending you go back and watch. But I haven't been doing voice videos for too long, and it really I started getting a lot of subscribers with the Fallout stuff. However, I never intended this to be a Fallout specific channel, so I do want to do some more content, and I actually have some videos that are already ready to go. But I wanted to also ask you all, what sort of games do you guys play? I want to try to gauge my audience. Obviously there's Fallout people here, there's Bethesda people here. I know that. I mean, obviously. But what other sorts of games do you guys play? What sort of stuff do you guys want to watch me cover? Because I play all sorts of different games. I am not tied to Bethesda, even though I play a lot of their games. I play a ton of different things. So I can talk about really almost anything you guys want me to talk about. And like I said, I have a list of topics I could go on, but I want to sort of get a general direction about what sort of audience I have here and what you guys are most interested in seeing. So, give me some feedback down below. That would be great. And I want to thank everyone who has subscribed. And I also wanted to mention a little bit of housekeeping here as well. If you are following me on a different platform other than YouTube, it would really help me out if you could actually go to YouTube and subscribe. And I am not going to be the beg for a subscription guy. That is not at all it. But I know I have about a couple hundred people following me on a different platform. If you guys subscribe, that would really help me out, get some more views on the videos, maybe open a few more people's eyes to some of these sinister paths that Bethesda's going down. And also, you know, like I said, I want to open up to some more broad content, talk about some other games, some other franchises, and I'd like to get as many people watching as possible. So like I said, if you follow me on a different platform, I know there's a few hundred of you that are. If you guys have a YouTube account, it would be great. Toolshed Video is the name of my YouTube channel. You can check it out, and I would be very grateful to anyone that did that. So, end of begging. That's it for me. I want to thank everyone for getting this far into the video. Let me know what you guys think about the quotes I brought to you about Pete Hines earlier in the direction of Bethesda and how they're kind of maybe changing some stuff they do about the future with their single-player games. Let me know what you think about the situation where they're now hiring YouTubers, and what do you guys think about that? Am I way off base? Am I crazy for thinking that is shady? Let me know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't think I am, but you let me know. And until next time, give me the feedback on your games. What do you guys like to play? Because I play a ton of stuff. Let me know what you guys play. What do you guys want to hear me talk about the most? And we can go from there. I'm Coach Toolshed, and as always, keep it turned to 11.